Hi everyone, welcome to this session. My name is Guillaume Gojard and I am Product Manager at OVH Cloud. Today I'm very happy to have Victor with us.
Hello, Guillaume. Thank you for having me.
Victor is from Strapi and we are going to talk today about modern CMS and the market around it. During this session, we will talk also about the advantage of the new generation of headless CMS. They are more flexible, decoupled CMS, and they provide freedom for developers and offer lots of simplicity expected by content editors. We'll see that what's common between Strapi and OVH Cloud also, and we'll try to see how we use that on our OVH Cloud products, of course. First of all, let's start by presenting Strapi. And Victor, maybe can you give us some details about Strapi?
Absolutely. So Strapi is a 5-year-old open source project. Started as an open source project. Now the team grew to about 50 employees, distributed across the world. And it's backed by a very active community of contributors. We have almost 40,000 GitHub stars. And it's one of the most popular headless CMS that is fully open source.
Great. Okay. Let's have a look at how Strapi is playing in the game of today. Let's talk maybe a little bit and come back about the history of the web. Since the web has been created a long time ago, it has changed. And maybe, Victor, can you explain a bit what is headless CMS and maybe where is the differences bringing by this concept?
Right. So the concept of CMS is nothing but new. It started back in the 90s with the first CMS called FileNet. In the 2000s, we had more mainstream CMS like WordPress and Drupal that became popular. But things started shifting to headless in 2010 when we saw like the first headless CMS like Contentful, and the shift to mobile device really like triggered that switch, that shift to headless CMS. In the recent years, there's a big buzz around no code, low code, and actually headless CMS is part of that movement as more of a low code solution, enabling content to be distributed on any device, any type of content on any device. So it's a truly omni-channel digital.
Great. You have been talking about others CMS, the one everyone knows, like WordPress, of course. In this little representation, we can see what are the typical main actors and where Strapi stands. And as you can see, there are open source headless CMS like Strapi. They build on top of a community, which is very, very important today. And there are also the other players that decided to go for a subscription as a service, SaaS offering, trying to target different different users. On this slide, maybe can you tell us a little bit about the low code you were talking a bit before?
So here the main differentiator for Strapi compared to other CMS is the fact that it's open source and self-hosted, which means you need to start locally and then deploy to production to your favorite cloud. But so you can see here that it's mostly the customization aspect that are differentiating compared to some of the traditional CMS that are more like monolithic, where you essentially have like the backend and the front end tightly coupled. So with the headless CMS, you have more flexibility, more customization capabilities to build, your mobile or web applications.
Yeah, great. Okay, now if let me illustrate what was the typical traditional CMS before. You can see that as a whole embedded everything from the backend and the front and the backend in the same offer. And it was also proposing a nice choice of plugins and extensions. Some of them were with additional cost, making this a huge, big stuff. And we observe over the time decreases of performances. when you accumulate extensions. And it was a bit complex to manage also. Developers don't really want to work on such kind of traditional CMS because it's not that simple. Another key point is also the fact that the front end has to be secured, and any security issue, you need to get aware of them and patch your CMS over the time just to prevent from any risk. But now with the headless CMS, and maybe you can introduce the concept of Jamstack, it's another way we are addressing this subject. Can you talk a bit about the Jamstack first, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So headless CMS is the A in Jamstack. So A stands for API. And so that's really what a headless CMS is. It allows you to manage a database and generate a well-structured API. So we're decoupling that backend from the front end. And so that brings to developers the benefit of being able to integrate with their favorite front-end framework like Gatsby, Next.js, and others. And so they are not only able to use their favorite tools, they're also able to distribute the content to any device. And which means they're also future-proofing their application, because maybe they start with a website, but down the road they want to add a mobile application. With a headless CMS, that is very easily doable.
Yeah, I see. So by separating front and back, it makes it more interesting on a long-term perspective. No need to renew everything if you have to change something, and you can just adapt a part independently from the other. Great. Okay. Now, if we have a look on a user point of view, several roles are usually involved in building a website, and it could be technical people or non-technical people. Formally, each of them have to work one after the others, which can take a lot of time and making the project long and difficult with no real agility. Can you explain the role of Strapi and how it changed the process today?
Right. So Strapi is like the glue in between all those different stakeholders. And so it enables the content to be available when the different stakeholders need it the most. So instead of working with lorem ipsum in your Figma, for the design phase, you can actually work with real content. And thus you save a lot of time down the road because you're actually designing with the right content in mind. Same thing for developers. They are able to work with the API and integrate it with the front end of their choice. So everybody is enabled to become more productive, and as a result, the time to market is accelerated.
Yeah, great. So if I understand well, Strapi is like a unique source of truth, accessible to everyone at any time. Okay.
Exactly. It breaks down the silos.
Yeah, exactly. Good. So even if Strapi lets the front-end developer build whatever they want, there is also a very sexy backend, as we can see on some screenshots of your interface. Can you explain a bit about how it is easy for them to build content, expose it, so that they can adapt it over the time?
Right. So headless CMS like Strapi is developer first, meaning like the benefits for developers are obvious. But with the admin panel here, Strapi is friendly to content editors as well. And so they're able to easily create and publish content as they see fit. So we have a very traditional use cases like a website builder, but also more original use cases such as Strapi powering content to IoT device, for instance, sending audio content to firefighters with connected helmets, or sending content to an ATM for one of the largest bank in the US. So you can really power your content anywhere.
That's really amazing, yes. I think that Strapi can address a wide range of use cases. It's very powerful for both simple and also large projects, so great. What makes some common things between Strapi and OVH Cloud? It's also your core value. And when we were preparing this session, I've discovered that we consider the freedom of the users exactly as we do at OVH Cloud. And maybe can you talk a bit about your three core value? You promote with Strapi today?
Right. So the three pillars that Strapi's rely upon are the following. The first one is it's agnostic, so you can really pick and choose like every aspect of your stack, your front end, your database, your API. We give you that flexibility. The second one is scalability because Strapi is based on JavaScript. It's the best language for API response time, and we also we can see that it can really scale as your application traffic scales. It really scales with you in that regard, and there's many things you can do to optimize with caching layers on the front end and everything else. But where Strapi and Headless CMS really shine is in the agility. It's really empowering all the different stakeholders to move faster and bring that content to production, to live quicker in a cost-effective way.
No, that's great, because like you, OVH Cloud is aiming also to help every individual or organization to be successful in the web. So let me share a bit what's under the curtain and the services that could make sense when you want to start a Strapi project. For example, as a back-end side, on the back-end side, the platform on which you could run and install a Strapi, because it's self-hosted, so you have the choice to choose whatever you want. It could be, for example, a platform as a service. It's easier to use, easier to start, and most of the time, cheaper also. Why? Because, for example, as you can see on the slide that is coming next, OVH Cloud is the one managing the service in the background. So you can just install and try to use it. And then you can ask any developers, the one within your company, or it could be contractors also, to build their front end with the technology they want, the language they preferred, and build as many front end required for your project. Plus, and also important stuff when you want to be present on the web, don't forget to have all those must-have, all the commodities of a nice web site today. I mean, a domain name, SSL certificate to secure your website, and it could be also having protection like anti-DDoS one, and we are already recognized for these offers today on the market. For this perspective, today, I think that you have the choice to start with a managed stack, and over the time, if your project scales, like you were mentioning, Victor, it could be great to go on bare metal, for instance, so that you get more resources and you can build the infrastructure you want in the background. Maybe to conclude, Victor, do you have something great to share with us on your next steps for Strapi?
Right, so we are about to release the version 4 of Strapi in October of this year, together with a new plugin API and a marketplace. So we're really excited about it because it brings a lot of new capabilities through these plugins for the Strapi ecosystem. And so we invite everybody to check it out in the coming weeks.
Perfect. So we also wish every member of our ecosystem to be able to build great projects on Strapi, on both Strapi and OVH Cloud. Thank you, everyone, for joining to this session today. And a special thank you to you also, Victor, for being part of this presentation. This was really nice to have you. And see you soon.
Thank you, Guillaume.